The housing crisis. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe it's just a buzzword, but with the information that I have, it's a very real thing. The missing middle refers to things like laneway homes, coach homes, garden suites, duplex, triplex, fourplex, etc. Basically anything between a single family home and an 8-story building. The idea is to add more density into suburban neighborhoods because traditionally those are the areas that we have the most land in our cities, but they've only ever been zoned to allow for a single family home, maybe with a suite, to be built. With new regulations, you'll soon be able to see 2, 3, 4, even 6 units to be built on a single lot. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, or CMHC, has said we need to build between 5.5 and 6 million new homes in Canada by 2030 to lower rents, lower the cost of housing, and accommodate new people that are moving to the country. Missing middle housing will only contribute to a very small fraction of this, but it seems to be what people are talking about most. If you're like most people whose comments I read on Facebook forums and you're concerned about the property value, how this is going to change your neighborhood, or that there just isn't enough infrastructure to handle this, I'm here to tell you that you're right. Neighborhoods will change and infrastructure absolutely needs to be upgraded, but none of this is going to happen at a rate that is going to affect how much we actually live our lives. And it certainly shouldn't take up bandwidth between your ears and put you in a position to argue with your neighbors. But we need more schools. No, we don't. We need more teachers. We have the space to teach, but we don't have people willing to teach because teachers don't make a lot of money and the housing costs are very high. I don't know a single teacher that hasn't gone into their own pocket to cover their own classroom expenses. But we need more transit. Sure, but the reality is, if you're in my town in South Delta, we're number 47th-ish on the list of priorities that TransLink has. We're barely on the radar because there's not enough people that actually use public transit. Until we're about 20% over capacity, there's a very high likelihood that nothing is going to happen until it's absolutely necessary. Despite the habits of our government,
I have an inability to handle small numbers.
Believe it or not, capital is a finite resource. Until we have more people than required, it's unlikely that we're going to see any new buses or SkyTrains anytime soon. But we need more doctors, dentists, and lawyers. Of course we do, but in order to attract professionals, we need a place for them to live, and we need to have a place for them to work that is going to be exciting and that they're actually going to make a living. Given the limited land that is available to us, it is undeniable that we are going to need to build more retail, office, professional space along with housing. But this can be a totally different discussion for another day. Missing middle housing has far more pros than it does cons. In most cases, it's going to provide opportunity for those that are interested to help their kids save some money, keep them at home, and give them some independence. It's going to allow families to keep their elderly parents at home longer and put money in their own pockets versus paying rent to a care facility. It's going to encourage multi-generational housing where it's going to allow grandma and grandpa to move in, stay closer to mom and dad, and help out with the grandkids. It's going to provide mortgage assistance for those that need it. And if God forbid you're in a position where you have a bit of extra money and you want to invest it securely into your own economy, there is an opportunity for you to make some money. Maybe. It's also going to create more inventory for those looking to rent, and even if people are building coach homes or laneway homes on their property and they're trying to charge as much as they can, so be it. It's going to free up older inventory in another building somewhere else in town. People will be people, and the theory of supply and demand has been around for a long time and is probably not going to change. For those of you that are still on the fence, there are reasons why this isn't going to happen rapidly, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen all at once. For one, the cost of land is still very expensive. In the Fraser Valley, we're looking at a property average of about $1.5 million. In Vancouver, you're $2 million easy. If you're spending that kind of money, it's unlikely that a lot of people are going to have an opportunity and the means to continue building a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex anyways. Two, the cost of construction is also expensive. Although market costs of building materials has dropped over the last year or two, which is great, labor is still expensive because the cost of living is so high and we don't have the tradespeople that we need. New building codes and regulations put in place and geared towards energy efficiency and construction best practices with the hopes of helping climate change. We are also increasing the complexity of building in a lot of cases, therefore increasing the cost. Again, this is also a topic for another day. I'm very passionate about passive home and high performance building, but that's not what we're talking about here. If you can't afford to build a fourplex, look around. Chances are probably most of your neighbors aren't going to be able to afford it either. 3, we don't have enough trades and skilled workers that know how to build already, mostly due to a lot of them moving away because, again, the cost of living here is so high. It's tough for them to make a living, start a family, and get excited about starting a career. If our government should be spending money anywhere, it should be towards onboarding new trades and bringing in grants that are going to subsidize the training of new people that are interested in the construction industry. I'm a bit biased about this, and again, probably a topic for another conversation. 4, there are also many soft costs that are going to be incurred by whoever is developing these properties. We have development cost charges, we have amenity cost charges, we have utility cost charges. These are all fees that a developer needs to pay in order to develop these units. These fees go towards municipal water, sewer, TransLink, parks, fire, etc. All that infrastructure that you are talking about is being subsidized by whoever is putting their money where their mouth is and building these units. In a lot of cases, developers are handing over chunks of their properties to the cities so that they can do with it what they please. 5, there is still a lot of red tape around parking regulations, height restrictions, setbacks, etc. All things that need to be considered by our governing bodies if we're going to have any sort of impact. Just because you're allowed to build multiple units on your property doesn't mean that it's going to make sense to. Most cities still have a lot of work to do in this area, and they value your opinion, which is why they need your feedback. People are very vocal when it comes to talking about what they don't want, but they're far less vocal about talking about what they do want. So let's talk about solutions that you want to see happen. 6, money is still expensive and lending qualifications are tighter and tighter. Lending institutions want to make sure that you're not only going to be able to pay back the debt that you're borrowing to build, but they're going to want to actually make sure that you're getting a net positive return on your investment. They want to make sure that they're getting paid back no matter what. This means that if you are borrowing money to build, then you're going to have a plan in place to show a profit, not a loss. Wrapping up my long-winded thoughts on missing middle housing, the idea of gentle densification on single-family lots has far more pros than it does cons. It has far more benefits for people than the problems that people seem to have with the idea. Yes, neighborhoods might change a bit more than we want them to. The reality is very few people have the means of going out of their way and building something with the intention of losing money. There is always going to be a minimum amount of density that is going to make sense for somebody to take this initiative, invest the time, invest the money, invest the heartache to make this happen. In the end, they're the ones that are taking the risk, and they're the ones that are contributing privately into infrastructure. The best way we can handle this change together is be kind to one another, keep up good communication with our neighbors, and keep the conversation going. It's also important to a lot of people that gentle densification happens thoughtfully by onboarding intelligent designers and good contractors that understand the goals and intentions of a community. You're not going to have a problem. Remember, there are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs. So, what are we willing to trade?